Hey everybody, Dustin here from Backcountry Cuisine, and this time we are going to be snow camping. Yeah, so I got a couple things to teach you, some cool tricks and tips to make sure you're getting the most out of your snow camping trip and to stay comfortable, stay warm, and kind of, what are some of the cool things you can do when you're out here. All right, so one of the best things you can do when you're snow camping to stay warm is to get some hot liquids getting to you, right? I mean, that's pretty essential. So I got into camp, I set up camp, and then I started to feel a little chilled, so whipped up some water. One of the most important things to do, and this sounds crazy. If you've never been snow camping, you wouldn't believe it, but it's super important to do this. When you're melting snow, you've got to have water in the bottom. You've got to start with water. If you just throw snow in the bottom, then it burns. It burns the snow. Like, how do you burn water? That doesn't make sense. But, it gets kind of technical, but the basics is that every snowflake has to condense onto something, and they called it a condensation nuclei. Yeah, anyways, so it's a little piece of dust, a little piece of something, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I've gotten pretty good sources that what's actually going on is that it's the little dust particles and things that are burning in the snow. Whatever it is, it's nasty, so don't do it. Make sure you've got good snow. Got some water in there so that when you put your snow chunks in there, it has water to start melting with it. Another important thing to do is to layer up. As soon as you get into camp, start putting things on. So as soon as I got into camp, put on my fleece jacket, I got my hat out, but I've been sitting here, I've been kind of just getting things going here, and I'm starting to feel a little bit more chilled, so it's time to put some more on. And my little liner hat here is great and all, but it's not perfect, so you've got to go with what you got to go with. It's not always pretty, but put on a nice big insulated hat. Yeah. This thing is from Light and Equipment. What I like about this thing is that because I sleep with a quilt instead of a sleeping bag, there's no hood. And so I can wear this, and no matter how I toss and turn, the hood stays with me. Because you can get this thing all snapped up and under your chin, you can also protect your neck, because your neck loses a lot of heat. And then it's super thick, and so it keeps you totally warm. Really warms you up. I can already feel the heat coming back at me. Get your insulated leggings on, get your jacket on, everything you've got to stay warm. Layer up before you get cold. The key is to layer up before you get cold. If you wait till you're cold, man, you're in trouble. It's just so hard to warm back up again once you're already cold. All right, another thing to do when you're trying to stay warm is you want to stay on your sleeping pad. So notice here, I've got my sleeping pad and I'm sitting on it, but I've also got it underneath my feet, because your feet will get really cold if they're just sitting on the snow there. You lose a lot of heat from conduction. So you want to be sitting on a pad. I've got a full length pad here. You could also have a little 3/4 length one. Another thing I like to do to keep my feetsies warm is to unlace my boots. Because if you don't unlace your boots, well, they could be a little tight, and that will constrict the blood flow down to your feet. So get these things untied, and you can still have them tied up, but just keep them nice and loose. Loosey-goosey. And then you can still walk around with them, but it keeps your toes with a little more circulation, helps to keep them a little bit warmer. Otherwise, cold toes. Nobody likes cold toes. Yet another cool trick you can use to stay warm at night in your sleeping bag is you can use a hot water bottle. Yes, it's very good. Yeah, so what you do is you fill this up with hot water, boiling water, bam, Lexan, the Lexan Nalgene bottles. If you make sure they're on tight, they won't leak. Yeah, no guarantees, but it's never happened to me before. They're pretty good. And then I put mine into this little insulate pad thing. Whoa, it's steaming. I gotta put some more snow on. Just calm down there, sucker. So then you just put hot water in there and put them in this little cozy. Yeah, got it all double wrapped. Stick that sucker in your sleeping bag, and it loses heat, but real slow, so that it stays, it kind of keeps giving off heat all night long. If you don't need it right away because you're warm to start, then what I've done is to wrap it into another, like a jacket or something like that I'm not using overnight. Keep it really well insulated as best you can to keep the heat in there. And then when you're cold, you pull it out in the middle of the night, you can throw it on. If you lose heat, if it's like starting to get to the point where you're not feeling much heat come out, well then you take off a layer, and now you're gonna get the heat coming out of here more, so you can feel it there. And if it's still not enough for you, take this out. And then when this doesn't feel warm enough, well, just get it out of your sleeping bag and don't sleep with it anymore, because then you're just trying to keep that, you're keeping that water bottle warm. That's not good. Save that for later. All right, another one that I deem almost essential when you're out snow camping is to eat well. Yes, that is pizza. Yes, it is. Love it. So you have a lot of time when you're out here snow camping. So yeah, might as well take the time, eat well, bake some stuff. You got tons of time. If you bring 2 stoves, it's even better because you can be cooking on one and then be baking on another, or whatever you need to do. So yeah, take the time, eat well. Another nice effect for winter camping is to have some candles. It's hard to see, and but they're providing a little bit of light. Now it's a little windy, so you can see these candles are flickering around a little bit. But if you just put the candle inside of a Ziploc bag, so you pack the bottom of the Ziploc bag with snow, put the candle on top, you've got yourself a little lantern. When you are melting snow is to use your fork or spoon or whatever you got and break it up, because it does melt faster if you break it up and increase the surface area. So use that fork, bust it up, yeah! Whatever. Use a stove stand, right? So I've got this one here. I've got a whole video on stove stands that I made, but basically just use something underneath your stove to insulate it from the snow so it doesn't sink down into it. I've been using this for a couple of days now and it's still doing awesome. Ooh, look at that. Red hot. Another great trick is to keep your water bottles upside down. So what I do is I keep my water bottles upside down in the snow. That insulates them a little bit. If I'm going to get any icing, it's going to be up here at the top. But down where the water actually comes out of the lid, it will not freeze over. And so I can still get water out of it. If you leave it right side up, like this, then you'll get a layer of ice at the top. Here, typically is where it starts, where the more air is. And then you can't get anything out of it. So you have to like somehow break that ice or heat up the water underneath it or add hot water to the top of it, something like that. But overnight, you can't do that. So if I'm in my tent, I just have it upside down like that in the snow, or at least just upside down. That way it doesn't freeze at the nozzle. All right, everybody. That's it. I'm heading out. Going to be breaking camp here soon. So if you like the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And let me know. Put some comments below if you have some other tips and tricks to stay warm in the snow, or just to have more fun when you're out snow camping. All right. Eat well.